You can get started.
Okay. Today, wait a second. Okay. Introduction. The Great Gatsby, written by Scott Fitzgerald, is a quintessential piece of American literature that critiques the moral decay and disappointment of the Jazz Age. It explores the complex dynamics between social class, wealth, and the American dream. Chapter 5 of the novel marks a pivotal moment in the narrative, focusing on the reunion between Jay Gatsby and Daisy Buchanan. This chapter serves as the emotional and thematic heart of the novel, encapsulating the novel's reflections on time, love, and illusion. The key event, the long awaited meeting between Gatsby and Daisy, reveals the disparity between Gatsby's idealized vision of the past and the harsh reality of the present. Chapter summary. In Chapter 5, Nick Carraway facilitates the anticipated meeting between his cousin Daisy and the mysterious Jay Gatsby. Gatsby, who has been waiting for this moment for years, is both nervous and excited. The meeting takes place at Nick's home, with Gatsby initially arriving early and trying to prepare the scene by having the flowers arranged and the house meticulously cleaned. The first interaction is awkward, but over time, Gatsby and Daisy rekindle their past feelings for each other. Gatsby, however, is also disappointed by the reality of Daisy's presence. She is no longer the idealized version he remembers. The chapter concludes with Gatsby and Daisy's emotional connection deepening, but it's clear that Gatsby's dream of recreating the past may not be sustainable. Uh, Themes in Chapter 5. There are several themes emerge in Chapter 5, many of which encapsulate the broader concerns of the novel. First of all, the illusion of the American dream. Gatsby's dream is not only about wealth, but also about recreating an idealized version of the past. His wealth, symbolized by his mansion, is an attempt to win Daisy's love, but it cannot fulfill the deeper emotional needs he believes it will. Second, one is time and the past. One of the central themes of the novel. Chapter 5 explores Gatsby's obsession with the past and his attempt to repeat it. This theme is most evident when Gatsby says to Daisy, can't repeat the past. Why, of course, you can. His refusal to accept the passage of time highlights the tragic nature of his character and the futility of his quest. Love and longing. The chapter underscores the complexity of love, as Gatsby's love for Daisy seems genuine, but is also tied up with a longing for an idealized past, which clouds his perception of the present. Symbolism in Chapter 5. Gatsby's mansion symbolizes his wealth and the elaborate life he has built to win Daisy back. However, it also highlights the emptiness of his life. Despite its grandeur, the mansion remains devoid of true meaning for him, as it serves only as a prop in his attempt to recreate his lost love. The second one is the weather. Fitzgerald uses weather symbolically to mirror the emotional atmosphere of the chapter. The rain at the beginning of the chapter represents the tension and awkwardness of the initial meeting, while the clearing of the skies later symbolizes the emotional connection between Gatsby and Daisy as they begin to rekindle their feelings for each other. Uh, Character analysis. Jay Gatsby. Gatsby is portrayed as a tragic figure in this chapter, whose idealism blinds him to the reality of the situation. He believes that his wealth and meticulously crafted persona can win back Daisy. Yet he cannot accept that time has altered both him and Daisy. His nervousness and eagerness in the meeting suggest that he is not as composed or invulnerable as he appears. Daisy Buchanan. Daisy's character is more complex than it first appears. In this chapter, she appears emotionally conflicted, moved by Gatsby's devotion, but also aware of the consequences of rekindling their romance. Her interaction with Gatsby reveals her inability to escape the constraints of her social position and the expectations placed on her by her marriage to Tom Buchanan. Uh, Emotional tone. The emotional tone of chapter 5 is filled with anticipation, tension, and a sense of nostalgia. At the outset, the awkwardness of Gatsby and Daisy's reunion gives the chapter a tone of uncertainty. However, as the chapter progresses, the emotional tension shifts to one of longing and yearning, especially when Gatsby and Daisy are alone together, revisiting their past. The fleeting moments of happiness they share are ultimately overshadowed by the realization that their love cannot be fully realized in the present. The emotional roller coaster that the characters experience mirrors the broader themes of illusion and disappointment throughout the novel. Literary techniques in Chapter 5. Fitzgerald used a variety of literary techniques to convey the complexity of the characters and their emotions in Chapter 5. And these are imagery, narrative style, and foreshadowing. Imagery. Fitzgerald's use of imagery is particularly striking in this chapter. The descriptions of Gatsby's house, the flowers, and the weather all contribute to the sense of both hope and disillusionment. For example, Gatsby's attempt to impress Daisy with his wealth is described in great detail, which underscores the materialism of his pursuit. Narrative style. Nick Carraway, as the narrator, reflects on events from a distance, often inferring deeper meanings about the character's emotions. His position as an outsider allows him to provide a critical perspective on the meeting between Gatsby and Daisy, while also highlighting his sympathy for Gatsby's tragic obsession with the past. Foreshadowing. The use of foreshadowing in this chapter hints at the tragic outcomes of Gatsby's obsessive pursuit of Daisy. The tension in the meeting, combined with the rain and the fleeting moments of intimacy, suggests that the relationship will not live up to Gatsby's idealized expectations. Conclusion. Chapter 5 is a critical turning point in The Great Gatsby, revealing both the hopes and limitations of Gatsby's vision. His attempt to recreate the past with Daisy is emblematic of the broader themes of the novel: illusion, the passage of time, and fragility of dreams. In this chapter, Fitzgerald examines the dissonance between idealism and reality, illustrating that Gatsby's dream of love and social ascent is ultimately unattainable. This chapter serves as a microcosm of the larger narrative, reinforcing the novel's critique of the American dream and the tragic consequences of an obsession with the past. Thanks for your attendance.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. I think Yos hasn't came to the meeting. Has he I mean told anything to you that he can't come or anything?
He didn't told me anything about it.
Okay, I think the
I
presentation,
I asked to him. He said I will be there, but I don't know what happened.
I think he had a problem. Okay, I don't know. He hasn't texted me either. I think the presentation was kind of like the images were good, but not that relatable. I mean, the presentation was good and it wasn't, I mean, it was more of like general knowledge than specifically chapter 5, but I liked the presentation. I mean, it was still, I mean, pretty adequate. So, yeah, what you think about the presentation?
I think this presentation was a bit more developed based on Korai's past presentations. He his visuals, probably from ChatGPT, but still a good idea. His visuals, the points he talked about, that's very clear. I think that's by far the best performance he ever showed us in presentations.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it's his second presentation, so like, I mean, two presentations he has done. So
Yeah.
the first one was pretty shallow. This one was like slightly better. So, it's still great improvement. And I'm gonna share the screen for the questions, and we're gonna get started with the questions. Um, okay. Um, do you have the screen?
Yes, we have it. It's so small. It's tiny.
Okay. Is it better?
Now we can see.
Okay. I mean, you can read the questions itself from, I mean, if I'm just sharing, if you don't have access to it. So for the first question, I'm gonna get started. Let me fix my mic. Okay. The significance of light and weather. Gatsby's house is described as being illuminated from tower to cellar, and the chapter is framed by changing weather, from pouring rain to sunshine and back to rain. How do these elements mirror the emotional and thematic undercurrents of the chapter? What do they symbolize about Gatsby's dream and realization? Again,
Um, can you repeat the question because all questions are blank for me. I can't really see it.
do you have access to your phone?
Yeah.
I mean, open the questions you can. I mean, as I can't really make it more visible to you.
Okay, okay, no problem. So yeah, we're in the first question. I'm gonna describe the symbolism for rain and sunshine, right? That question.
Weather and light, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very well, light question. The rain here symbolizes the awkwardness of the situation and also anxiety. It's a weird situation, and people are anxious. Uh, yeah, that's all. But and sunshine is for the joy. I mean, how to describe it? The joyful frame filled with hope. Um, and That one thing about rain, the sudden return of the rain is uh, for the dream of Gatsby, which is a fragile dream, you know. It's far from reality.
Thank you. I think that was your answer. Um,
Yeah.
I get it. So for the second question, the role of materialism in Gatsby's courtship. Gatsby uses extravagant gestures such as sending over a greenhouse worth of flowers and showcasing his opulent possessions to impress Daisy. What does this reveal about Gatsby's understanding of love and his approach to rekindling their relationship? How does this reflect the values of Jazz Age? So Gatsby's extravagant actions, like buying flowers by hundreds, and I mean presenting Daisy with his mansion's opulent things, tell us that, I mean, love in Gatsby's eyes is like also materialistic. He thinks like that it's wealth and not emotional closeness to that wealth that will justify his being worthy and rekindle Daisy's love. So, like, I believe that in this passage, we can easily tell that Gatsby's goal by, I mean, trying to get Daisy back, I mean, trying to show off his materialistic possessions. So, like, I mean, as we've known, I mean, married Tom because of his possessions, and now Gatsby does the same and tries to impress her with his possessions and shows that his definition of love is more of like materialistic than emotional closeness, as I said. So I'm gonna move on to the third question. The clock on the mantelpiece. The clock Gatsby nearly knocks over while speaking with Daisy becomes a significant symbol. What does this moment represent about Gatsby's relationship with time and his attempt to recreate the past? How does it connect to broader themes in the novel, Koray?
I'm going to read my answer. The clock Gatsby nearly knocks over symbolizes his obsession with controlling time and his desire to turn back the past. By attempting to recreate the time that has passed, Gatsby tries to restore the perfect moment he had with Daisy, believing he can pick up exactly where they left off. This moment reflects the broader theme of the novel, which critiques the impossibility of reliving or revisiting the past. Gatsby's inability to literally stop time or keep the clock still reflects how time itself is beyond his control, making his dream of recreating the past doomed. The clock represents the broader tension between reality and illusion in Gatsby's pursuit of his ideal.
Okay, thank you. For the fourth question, Daisy's emotional response. Do you have my voice?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we have.
Um, Daisy's emotional response. Um, Daisy's tearful reaction to Gatsby's display of his luxurious shirts is one of the most poignant moments in this chapter. What do her tears signify about her character, her relationship with Gatsby, and her own desires? How does the scene deepen the complexity of her feelings? Ege?
Um, uh, it's the uh question about Daisy's tears or the fifth question?
Fourth.
Fourth, okay. So you see, when Daisy cries, her tears falls on Gatsby's shirt, and this scene is basically a symbol for the failure of Gatsby's love and wealth ideals. He always brings up materialism and his possessions like wealth and power, even to his love life. Um, this reaction brings up the ineffectivity of materialism on her. I mean Daisy, which is a regretful treatment.
Thank you. And for the fifth question, we're going to move on to the fifth one. Gatsby's perception of Daisy. The narrator observes that Gatsby's dream of Daisy may exceed the reality of who she is. There must have been moments, even that afternoon, when Daisy tumbled short of his dreams. How does the statement reflect the novel's exploration of the tension between idealism and reality? What does it suggest about the nature of Gatsby's obsession? Um, yes,
You have my voice, right?
yes, yes,
Okay. Um, we are at the Gatsby's perception of Daisy, right?
yes.
Mhm. The Gatsby's dream of about Daisy is so good and perfect that she can't fully live up with, and even when they're together, Gatsby's obsession is more about the ideal she presents um, in her mind than who she really is. This highlights the novel's tension between dreams and reality for Gatsby and Daisy, and showing how we often build fantasies that don't match the truth. It suggests that Gatsby's pursuit of Daisy is destined to disappoint him. That's all I
Thank
think.
you. Um, Sixth question. The green light and its vanishing significance. Gatsby's observation of the green light at the end of Daisy's dock shifts in meaning now that she's physically present in his life. How does this moment encapsulate the broader theme of disillusionment in the novel? What does the green light symbolize at this point of the story? The green light at the end of Daisy's Duck, a powerful representation of Gatsby's yearning and desire, has lost all its meaning now, and that Daisy is a physical part of Gatsby's life. Previously, the light represented the unattainable future and Gatsby's ideal of perception. sorry, perfection. I mean, that's what I mean. Gatsby thinks what is perfect, and I mean something just beyond his grasp. So in chapter five, I mean, the light transforms into a symbol of the meaning reflects the broader I mean, symbol of the vanishing quality of Gatsby's dream. I mean, the fact that the light no longer holds the same meaning reflects the broader theme of disillusionment in the novel. So, I mean, the closer Gatsby gets to his dream, the more he realizes that it's never as perfect or achievable, I mean, as he imagined. At this point, it's obvious that, I mean, the yearning for this satisfaction is shaped by the fact that once, like, this goal is achieved, and the object of the desire can't achieve the expectation fit by the fantasies built around it. So, I mean, this was my answer for the sixth question. We are going to move on to the seventh question. Gatsby's house as a symbol. Gatsby's house is described as a ground yet hollow structure meant to impress Daisy. How does the house reflect Gatsby's character and his pursuit of an ideal? In what ways does it represent both his success and his isolation? Koray?
Gatsby's house is a physical manifestation of his dream, built to impress Daisy and showcase his success. The house's grandeur reflects Gatsby's ambition and his desire to display the wealth he accumulated in pursuit of his ideal future with Daisy. However, the emptiness and hollowness of the house symbolize the emptiness of Gatsby's life. Despite his outward success, it's a symbol of his isolation, as the mansion is a grand structure without the people and love that would make it feel truly fulfilling. In this way, the house represents both Gatsby's achievement of the American dream and his inability to attain the deeper emotional connection he craves.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on to the eighth question, the role of Nick as a mediator. Nick plays a crucial role in orchestrating the meeting between Gatsby and Daisy. How does his presence influence the dynamic between the two? To what extent is Nick a passive observer versus an active participant in the unfolding events? Ege?
So you see, in the novel, you can easily realize that Nick is not an ordinary narrator. He also participates in the story. He also tells us his ideas, how he thinks, his personal opinions. So that makes him both an observer, a narrator, and a participant. Since he describes things in his own perception and perspective. But that's not that's still isolate. There's something that isolates him from other characters, as he sometimes puts his attitude as a narrator, and he keeps his narrating distance. But I think his interpretations would consist bias and prejudice for us, the readers. That's all.
Thank you. I think that's all. Thank you for your comprehensive answer. We're going to move on to the ninth question, the illusion of permanence. Gatsby remarks that it took him just 3 years to earn the money for his house, but I mean, is vague about his business ventures. How does this contribute to the ambiguity surrounding his identity and the ephemeral nature of his dream? What does this reveal about the instability of his foundations? I think it's Yo's turn.
Yeah. Um, you have my voice, right?
Yes.
Um, Gatsby's voyage explanation about his richness, I mean wealth, shows the unstable, shaky foundation of his success and dream. It highlights the fragility of his identity and the um, temporary nature of what he's built. I mean, his wealth. His remark about earning the money in 3 years reflects his focus on speed, ambition, and appearances rather than lasting values. It shows that his dream, though grand, rests on unstable grounds. I mean, it's risky ground. That's all I think.
Thank you for your answer. We're gonna move on to the 10th question. The impact of Klipspringer, uh, Klipspringer's song. Klipspringer's piano performance includes the song "Ain't We Got Fun," with its lyrics about the rich getting richer and the poor having children. How does this moment serve as a commentary on class disparities and the transient nature of wealth? How does it contrast with Gatsby's idealism? So, I believe that, I mean, Klipspringer's song "Ain't We Got Fun," with its carefree tune about the affluent getting wealthier and the poor having babies, it stands as like criticism of class inequality and the um, how his wealth was attained in a um, unfaithful way, as I might say. The song highlights the superficial, acquisitive culture of the Jazz Age, in which wealth is openly displayed at low regard for its social consequences. In contrast, Gatsby's idealism is about achieving something more lasting and meaningful. His dream of rekindling his love with Daisy, the song emphasizes the tension between Gatsby's aspirations and a society that boasts wealth, yet values wealth for its own sake without substance. It also reminds that wealth and socioeconomic status, no matter how much, is not permanent source of true happiness or I mean humanly not humanly maybe human fulfillment. So this was my answer for the 10th question. We're gonna move on to the 11th question. Gatsby's colossal vitality of his illusion. Um, Okay. Nick describes Gatsby as someone who has invented extraordinary energy into an illusion, building its impossible heights. How does this idea connect to the novel's critique of the American dream? In what ways does Gatsby's dream reflect both the potential and the peril of ambition? Koray?
I'm gonna read my answer. Nick's description of Gatsby's colossal vitality of his illusion captures the immense energy Gatsby has invested in creating a dream that is larger than life. This idea connects directly to the novel's critique of the American dream, which promises success but is often unattainable or built on falsehoods. Gatsby's dream of Daisy and the grand life he has built around it reflects the potential for ambition to drive one to great heights, but also the peril of being consumed by an unattainable goal. Gatsby's vitality, his relentless belief in his ideal, is both admirable and tragic because it blinds him to the reality of his situation. His dream embodies both the promise of achieving greatness and the eventual fall into disappointment.
Thank you for your answer. We're going to move on to the last question of the day, the dynamics of Gatsby and Daisy's reunion. The progression of emotions in Gatsby and Daisy's reunion from awake awkwardness to joy to quiet intimacy highlights the complexity of their relationship. How does this interaction challenge or reinforce the reader's perception of their bond? What does it suggest about the possibility of fulfilling Gatsby's dream? Yos, is this your turn?
Yeah, I think so. Um, Gatsby and Daisy's reunion shifts from the awkward to joyful, as we read, showing their deep emotional history. But their bond feels like more connected in nostalgic and than present reality. I mean, their bonds, making it fragile. And Gatsby's dream of their love feels bigger than the actual relationship that they share. Um, this situation reveals the tensions between living for the past and living in the present, in my opinion.
Thank you. I mean, we are done with our meeting. I'm gonna stop sharing and I'm done with recording right